So when I was at school in my sex ed classes, I was told not to get pregnant. Just don't get pregnant and you'll be fine. 10 years later, I'm still not pregnant, so thank you school for great advice. But at school, you know, I was never told about a Gynefix.
I'm basically going to talk you guys through from start to finish, like how I got my Gynefix fitted, what happened, like the process, the procedure, just in case you want to get one fitted. I hope this will help you.
At school, I really only remember being given a condom and not knowing what I was ever supposed to do with it. And so if you learned something new in this video as a male or a female, make sure you like this video, and for anyone new and wanting to learn something useful these days, make sure you subscribe and we'll dive straight into the video. And if you guys wanted to join the Nana Squad, my sister and I's online clothing brand, I will leave a link to that down below so you guys can check it out.
Good morning guys, I am literally not even awake right now. I woke up at 8. Yeah, I know. My alarm went off at 7, missed that. I slept in for like an hour. Yeah, so I'm thanking mum for waking me up today. It's also freezing, it's like an ice box, but I'm basically going to have my uterus pierced, basically the top of the womb with a Gynefix. So yeah, that's what I've woken up for today this morning, but it's just honestly freezing. What temperature is it? It's suddenly
-1. No, it's -1 this morning. It's going to be -2 tomorrow morning. Then it'll come back to 1. It'll be above 0. But today was -1.
Yeah, it's -1.
Car was frozen
honestly
up.
freezing.
And after all that, I didn't get the Gynefix fitted during my first appointment. Instead, I spoke to the doctor about my history with periods and why I wanted the Gynefix. If you're new to this, you're probably sitting there like, Holly, what even is the Gynefix? So some quickfire fun facts. It's a form of contraception, which means you won't get pregnant. It's non-hormonal, and it's also an IUD, an intrauterine device. So it's inserted into your uterus and it will kill sperm to basically prevent pregnancy.
I obviously mentioned that I'd been through amenorrhea. I lost my period for about 7 to 8 years, so a very long time basically. She was really quite concerned about that. She thought that I would be at a higher risk of perforation. So when you insert the Gynefix and it has to like sit in the wall of your uterus, she was worried that it would perforate and like traverse my wall and go into the abdomen, because my uterus lining might not be as thick. Because I haven't had a period for so many years of my life, it just might be abnormally thin, or it might not be as dense. So she was just slightly concerned, and she thought I would be at an increased risk, a slight increased risk of perforation. And so we did talk about this. We talked about the Gynefix and compared it as well to the T coils, so the framed ones. So as I said, I didn't have it fitted on that day, but I did have a transvaginal ultrasound scan, and that would allow the doctor to measure the thickness of my uterus, because for me that was the ultimate deciding factor. Like if it was too thin, I wouldn't have had the Gynefix. But I had the scan anyway, and the really good news was that my uterus lining was thick enough. Like it wasn't too thin. Obviously the scan doesn't tell you about the density, but I left that appointment basically being told to go away and just think about things, confirm my decision in wanting to have the Gynefix, and I could then rebook an appointment in a couple of weeks or something. I have to be quiet because literally nobody else in the house is up. I woke up at 6:30, my alarm went off and I literally jumped out of bed. Yeah, it's currently Wednesday the 15th and yeah, I'm having it done at Mortimer Market Centre. Am I nervous? Not really, to be honest with you. I'm trying not to overthink it. I know it is going to be slightly painful, I think. To make matters even more complicated though, today there are no tubes running, so that's why I need to go to London super early to walk to Mortimer Market Centre. But anyway, that is what I'm doing. I'll let you guys know how it feels, if it's painful, if it goes successfully, which hopefully it does. There will be lots of diagrams and biology in this video to explain everything, but yeah, I need to go now because otherwise I'm gonna miss my trip.
So before getting the Gynefix as contraception, I was using condoms, but shortly following this video there will be another very comprehensive one that evaluates all the different forms of contraception, not just the Gynefix. So definitely hit the like button if you haven't already, and if you are new around here you can also subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos.
Now the Gynefix, it was developed in Belgium, and I think as a result of that it's more common in European countries as opposed to the UK. Like it can be quite difficult to find a clinic and a qualified professional to fit the Gynefix, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link down below to the website that I used, because I didn't pay to have mine fitted and I got it done through the NHS. But there is a website that you can use to find like a clinic near you, and you can call them up and check that the clinic you want to go to will fit a Gynefix, because most of them do fit a T-coil, like not the Gynefix basically. So if you are in the UK, this is not an ad or anything, but it's just a really useful link, and it will hopefully help you out if you want to get a Gynefix. So the whole thing took about like 2 hours. So it was quite a long procedure, but basically I arrived and I had to do a urine sample. They also had to take some basic measurements. I've arrived at the place. I'm doing a urine sample and I've just filled out some forms. I also took painkillers, ibuprofen, like half an hour ago, so hopefully it does something. But anyway, I'm obviously not going to film me doing this, but this is my pot. This is a toilet that I'm using. Basically, I then jumped on the bed to have the thing fitted, so you obviously have to undress and stuff. There is the doctor in there and the nurse as well, so there will be 2 people in there with you.
We're going to do a scan first. Then we're going to insert a Gynefix.
I'm not gonna lie, you're lying in a very, very awkward position. So you're on this bed and you have to have your legs up, and then, you know, they kind of cover you so you can maintain some dignity. But to be honest with you, like, I've had laser hair removal now, I've had a few of these scans done, so I'm not as scared. My nurse was honestly so nice to talk to. She was just putting me at ease, making me laugh. Like, the doctor is doing their job, yes, they are friendly, but like the nurse is there to, you know, just help you, really. The doctor repeated the transvaginal ultrasound scan to measure the thickness again. Everything was okay, and then they will go ahead and insert the Gynefix. It is a string with the copper coils on it, and then it has like a knot or a nodule at the back, which is used to like anchor it at the back wall of your uterus. So it's called the fundus, that kind of back wall, and it will sit in your myometrium, so the muscle layer. It goes through the endometrium and it sits in the myometrium. So they use this needle to kind of like insert it basically. And for me, unfortunately, I was lying on the bed for quite a long time because they tried to insert the first one, but it didn't sit in properly, so it fell out straight away, and so they had to do it again. But in terms of like the sensation, it's so weird, okay? Like, it's very, very strange. It's not like the most painful thing I've ever experienced, but it's just a very unique sensation down there. There's a combination of like a piercing sensation and then also like this ongoing cramp that's just like localized to your uterus. It's basically like a period cramp. I haven't had that many intense period cramps, so for me, like, that was definitely the worst, but it's bearable. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. I personally found it uncomfortable, not really painful. I do have quite a high pain tolerance, but you know, you are gonna feel something. The weird thing is that it's all just localized down there. Like, I really wanted to try and like stop it, but obviously you can't, and I did have to go through it twice because they had to insert the second one after the first one fell out. I mean, I should say I did take a painkiller like half an hour before I had it fitted. I don't know if it did anything. They can also offer you an injection for pain relief before you have it fitted, but I didn't have that, and so you might have an even better experience than me. They do a transvaginal ultrasound scan after that as well, just to check it is inserted properly, which mine was, thankfully. And then after the appointment, they will give you a really, really thick pad. Like, I have never seen a pad so thick in my life, but they will tell you to put that in your knickers because there might be some bleeding afterwards. So for the rest of the day, like, my uterus felt kind of tender but not painful at all, and I just kind of went about my usual day-to-day activities. Everything was totally normal. Like, my only concern on the first day when I had it done, I was like, is this thing gonna fly out when I'm on the toilet, you know, like doing my business? Is it focused? It's not even focused on my face.
Hi guys.
I am with Angela. Basically, I've just had it fitted and I thought I'd just say I feel fine. We sat there for a good, like, I say 20 minutes.
Well, I sat there for 45 minutes.
Yeah, basically they tried to put one in and it didn't go in, so they had to do it again, so it took a bit longer, but the pain was just very weird.
Yeah,
and
not gonna lie, I was expecting to see you like in some sort of pain afterwards, but you were actually like completely fine. I think I'm quite good with pain, but yeah, that was the only feelings. And then afterwards I was given a panic button or an alarm to sit there for about 20 minutes if I felt faint. But I don't feel faint or sick or nauseous. I feel totally fine. So we're just gonna go about our day. The lady was super nice, the doctor was really nice, everything was good. I had some scans, obviously they checked it was inserted. I come back in like 4 to 6 weeks and they'll check it again. All is good. Yep.
Positive experience. would recommend. These are the bars we got, celebratory bars. Thank you, Deliciously Ella. I got an apple and raisin, and you got a hazelnut pecan and a maple.
I know.
Oof. I'm now going to talk specifically about the Gynefix because that is what I had fitted. It is a type of copper IUD, but the difference between like the T copper coil is that it's a frameless device. So it's smaller, it's more flexible. Basically what it is, if you didn't know, it's like a thread with copper coils on it. You either have 4 or 6 copper tubes. It then just hangs down in your uterus and the cervix, and it basically sits there and it acts as a form of contraception. Now these devices are primarily functioning because they kill the sperm in the uterus and the cervix, so it can't then fertilize the egg and you can't get pregnant. And that's largely because of the copper in the device. So the copper device releases the copper salts, and that is toxic to the sperm, and it also initiates a very mild inflammatory reaction in the endometrium, and that is also another reason as to why it's unfavorable for like the sperm to swim. It's also unfavorable for like the egg and the egg to even embed. So good things about the Gynefix, I will say first of all that you don't feel it, like it's not felt during sexual intercourse, for example, and you can only feel it if you like go looking for it basically, because the threads are hanging down and that's meant for you to feel and check that it's still there. But like it can last for up to 5 years, so a really long time, but at the same time like you can have it removed whenever you want to. And I obviously had the choice between like a frameless Gynefix or a framed T copper coil. Both of them are non-hormonal, but the reason why I chose a Gynefix over the T copper coil was because, as I said, it's smaller, it's more flexible, and my sister had the Gynefix fitted. She had no issues with it. So because we're siblings, we're related, I thought, you know, it's a very personal recommendation. But with the T copper coil, because it's not as small and flexible as the Gynefix, we think that's the reason why it's associated more so with like discomfort and pain, dysmenorrhea, which means painful periods or even heavier periods. So like the Gynefix, yes, can sometimes do that, but we think according to the research, the T copper coil is more likely to cause a heavier flow or pain during your periods, discomfort, and so more people are likely to not really get on with them. With the Gynefix and my period, I've noticed that it has extended my period. Like I had about 4 days of a really light period, almost like spotting really, and then now I'm still on my period, but it's like kind of heavy now, like there is actually a flow. It's not heavier, I wouldn't say, and sometimes the Gynefix can make your periods heavier. I think that's most common, like it's quite unusual for it to kind of make your periods lighter, but for me it hasn't changed the heaviness, I would say. And yeah, I'm currently still on my period, and I think it's like day 3 of it actually being something like a substantial volume of blood. Yeah, that's what it has seemed to have done to my menstrual cycle right now, but we'll just keep assessing it. I mean, I haven't had any unusual symptoms or like cramping really. It's just the same, it's just longer. And Em told me as well that with her, she has a longer period, it's slightly longer, but then she has a light period first, like it's very light and then it gets heavier. Whereas normally, in terms of like the dynamics of your period, for me it used to be that on the first and second days, or like the second day really, I'd have quite a heavy flow and then it would just get really light. But now it seems to be light, and then we've got the flow, or like a heavier flow, and then hopefully it will just subside or end in the next 2 days. But we shall see, you know, we shall see. Obviously, to keep this very two-sided, like there are some disadvantages of the Gynefix. So the main one is that there is a small risk of perforation when it's being fitted. So if it's not fitted correctly, it can perforate the full lining of your uterus and end up in your abdomen. The risk is very, very low. I need to emphasize, like less than 0.1%. So it is very rare, but obviously it needs to be acknowledged. The second disadvantage with the Gynefix, as I mentioned is that you need a trained professional to fit the Gynefix, and in the UK it's not as common to find those trained clinicians, and like the experience of the doctor in fitting the Gynefix can really influence your outcome. Like if it's not fitted correctly, then you know you might have an increased risk of perforation, or it might fall out. And expulsion, or like the Gynefix falling out, basically is the third like main disadvantage with the Gynefix. Now this normally happens in the first 6 months of fitting, so like as long as you are proactive in checking that it's still there, it should be fine. But like there is a slight risk it could fall out, because obviously it's just being attached with the knot. I probably look such a state right now just because my hay fever is so bad and I've been sneezing like a million times today. But I just spent the last 10 minutes, like I'm not even joking, quite a long time in the toilet, yes, because I was searching for my Gynefix. So you could like feel the string, but I just couldn't feel it because it was tucked away at one side, and I was getting quite worried. But I have found it, is the answer, the conclusion. And yeah, I've also just actually inserted my menstrual cup because I'm on my period. This is not the cup, this is the sterilizing pot. I was just getting so fed up of using pads because I haven't used pads since, I don't know, I had periods like years ago, like years and years ago, before I had amenorrhea and stuff. Like, I'm so used to now just using the menstrual cup and putting it in and stuff like that. So I'm trying it. I need to be careful when I take it out, obviously, because I don't want the Gynefix to be pulled out with the cup. But yeah, you are allowed to technically use a menstrual cup still with the Gynefix in or inserted. The place I went to though, when I spoke to the doctor, they were like, we don't recommend using it for that reason, because they don't want them to fall out, and obviously that means you don't have any contraception anymore. But I'm just gonna be really careful, and I know that Em still uses her cup and she also has the Gynefix. I will let you guys know, I'll keep you updated if it falls out in the toilet, which is basically where I am right now. We love that.
So the latest update I have for you guys is that I have been away traveling for 3 months since May, as some of you may know. So I've now had the Gynefix for about 5 months. I've had no problems with it whatsoever, other than sometimes panicking because I can't find it, but I can safely use my menstrual cup. I am of course very careful when inserting and removing it, but I do also use period underwear alongside. So if you can't end up using the cup, then period underwear is another very sustainable and eco-friendly option. I had a bit more cramping in the first 2 months, I would say, after it was inserted, like back pain, which I'd never had before, but that is literally all. I am now used to my periods being a bit longer and them starting off very light, but I am just very happy I had it fitted, and obviously I don't have babies.
There are obviously studies out there that you can look at, and there is not a lot of research in this area, but there are studies you can find, and one that was published in 2009, it looked at just over 2,000 women and it had a follow-up time of 8 years, which is pretty long, so quite good. In the first year, there were slightly more pregnancies with the Gynefix, and that's probably because in the first year the Gynefix is more likely to fall out. The expulsion rate was higher for the Gynefix. When the Gynefix was fitted as well, there were more complications in doing so in comparison to the T-coil. Like, all of those went smoothly, so it is more difficult to fit a Gynefix. But then basically in years 2 to 8 of this study, the Gynefix was actually superior to the T-copper coil, so fewer females removed it because of pain or discomfort, and it led to few pregnancies and ectopic pregnancies, so those outside the uterus, maybe in the fallopian tube, that's an ectopic pregnancy. So it's mostly in that first year of having the Gynefix fitted when you can have some issues with it, like the main one being that it falls out. But that's just one study, as I said, and there is still a lot of research that needs to be done, in my opinion, that compares the Gynefix with other forms of contraception and the T-copper coil. So that is basically everything. I know this video had so much information in it, but I really just wanted to make something that was like as comprehensive as possible. But if you did enjoy this video, then I will leave down below my latest girl talk Q&A, the one about my breast lump, because if you did enjoy this one, I guarantee you will also like those as well. Obviously, like this video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you are new and you want to stick around. But as always, I will speak to you very soon in another video. Bye! I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna sneeze. This is the hay fever.
Sorry. What's up in my hair?
Oh. Let's go. Stop! Shut up! Thank you. I have my IUD fitted.